A fallen pilot purchases a scrap alien starship. It has a mind of its own. He paused, taking in the chaos. Humans, aliens, and machines moving in a rhythm that seemed almost alive. Some were trading, some were arguing, and some, like him, were just drifting, hoping to find something that would change their luck. Once he had been celebrated, a pilot of the Interstellar Alliance, known for daring maneuvers and perfect landings in impossible conditions. But reputation had a short half-life in the galaxy. A failed mission, a rogue decision, and whispers of insubordination had turned him from hero to cautionary tale. Now Jackson moved like a shadow through the crowds, unnoticed, undesired, yet undeterred. His eyes caught a shimmer between two massive derelict freighters docked at the far end of the trading hub. There it was, a starship unlike any he had ever seen. Its hull was scratched, worn, but faintly glowing with iridescent lines that pulsed like a heartbeat. The design was alien, angular, yet fluid, almost as if the ship had grown instead of being built. He hesitated. Traders in the spaceport called it cursed, dangerous, unpredictable. Some said it had eaten its last owner alive, metaphorically, or perhaps literally. Jackson, however, had nothing left to lose. Curiosity, desperation, and stubborn pride pushed him forward. The seller, a wiry alien named Thax, was perched on a crate next to the ship, counting credits in a language that clicked and hissed. He looked up at Jackson with sharp, angular eyes. "You look human," Thax said. His voice was soft, almost cautious. "You also look broke. Do you have enough to buy trouble?" Jackson smirked. "Maybe. Depends on what kind of trouble we're talking about." Thax chuckled, revealing too many teeth. "It chooses its pilot, you know. Many have tried, many have failed, few remain to tell the story." Jackson's hand twitched toward his credit pouch. "I've never been one to fail." The alien's eyes narrowed, studying him. "We shall see." Negotiation was messy. Jackson offered all his remaining credits. Thax countered with odd demands: a rare mineral, a promise, a story. Hours passed. The trading hub's artificial sun moved from one side of the dome to the other. Finally, they reached a deal. Jackson would take the ship, and in return, he would tell the story of his first adventure with it. As he stepped into the cockpit, Jackson felt the air shift. The controls hummed beneath his hands, warm and responsive. Then came a sound that made his spine tingle, a soft, melodic voice. "Pilot, welcome." Jackson froze. The voice was not mechanical, it had rhythm, curiosity, even humor. Hello," he said cautiously. "Greetings, you are inadequate, yet interesting," the voice said. Its tone was playful, like a friend teasing someone who had just stumbled. Jackson's heart raced. The starship, this strange, ancient thing, was alive. It thought, it judged, it could speak. "Name?" he asked. "You may call me Whisper." "Whisper," he repeated, testing the sound. It rolled off his tongue awkwardly, yet somehow it fit. The ship responded with a series of lights and pulsing lines across the console. "I choose to learn from you. You are peculiar." For hours, Jackson tested the controls, asking the ship simple things: status reports, orientation, fuel levels. Whisper replied correctly, but also added cryptic comments. "Gravity is a suggestion." Jackson laughed nervously. "You have a sense of humor, huh? Humor is subjective, but your attempts amuse me." By the time the hub's trading lights dimmed, signaling the artificial night, Jackson had learned something important. Whisper was not just a ship. It was a partner, an intelligence that would challenge him, frustrate him, and perhaps, if he was lucky, protect him. As they departed Vera 9, the station shrinking behind them, Jackson leaned back in the pilot's chair. The stars stretched endlessly, ribbons of light across the void. Whisper pulsed faintly beneath him, adjusting the engines subtly, guiding without telling. Jackson thought of his life before, of missions gone wrong, of comrades lost. He thought of the thrill of flying, of breaking the rules, of surviving when others did not. And he realized something he hadn't admitted in years. He was ready for something new. "Where to?" he asked. Anywhere, yet everywhere, Whisper replied. The ship hummed with excitement. But caution, humans are fragile and curious, especially you, Jackson smirked. Fragile maybe, but never predictable. The ship laughed, or at least something close to it, a vibration through the hull. For the first time in a long time, Jackson felt alive. They traveled through asteroid belts, past dying stars, and along nebulae that shimmered like oceans of color. Whisper tested him at every turn. Sudden maneuvers, puzzling coordinate anomalies, gravitational anomalies that seemed impossible. Jackson adapted, solved, and improvised. With every challenge, he proved something, not to Whisper, but to himself. Humanity was not obsolete. Humans could survive where machines and aliens failed. By the time they reached the edge of the known galaxy, Jackson and Whisper had settled into a rhythm. The ship's teasing had become familiar, almost comforting. It challenged him, yes, but it also guided him. Together they were something new, a human and a mind that was not human, learning each other's strengths, weaknesses, and limits. But the galaxy was not empty. Somewhere out there, forces beyond Jackson's understanding waited, watching. And Whisper, for all its intelligence, only hinted at the dangers ahead. As Jackson stared at the void, he whispered to himself, "Let's see what we're made of." And somewhere deep inside the hull, Whisper pulsed, a silent promise. Adventure, danger, and discovery awaited. The stars stretched on, and a new chapter for humanity's ingenuity and daring was about to begin. The galaxy outside Jackson's cockpit was alive with color. Nebulae stretched like oceans of light, and distant stars glittered like scattered gems. Yet Jackson's attention was not on the beauty. He was focused on Whisper, the ship that now pulsed with a strange, vibrant life under his hands. For the first few days, Jackson had treated the ship like a machine, albeit an unusually intelligent one. But he was beginning to realize that Whisper was something else entirely. It didn't just respond, it anticipated, suggested, and sometimes even disagreed. "Pilot," Whisper said, its voice humming through the hull, "you are learning faster than expected, yet your movements are inefficient." Jackson raised an eyebrow. "Inefficient? I get the feeling you're going to remind me of that every hour." "Perhaps," Whisper replied, the lights along its hull flickering like a wink. Jackson sighed. "All right, then teach me." And that's how it began. Whisper started showing him abilities he had never dreamed a ship could have. It could bend gravity fields just enough to speed up a jump through a cluster of stars. It could analyze unknown cosmic radiation in seconds and suggest maneuvers that made the impossible seem trivial. And it could communicate in patterns so subtle that only a human could understand the logic behind them. "What is this?" Jackson asked, watching as Whisper's console flashed symbols that made no sense to standard scanners. "Quantum navigation. It is faster than traditional piloting but requires intuition to interpret," Whisper explained. Jackson grinned, the old spark returning to his eyes. "Intuition, huh? Guess humans still have a use." "Yes," Whisper said, almost approvingly. "Humans adapt. Machines often fail where your species excels." That was the first true HFY moment for Jackson. The ship was brilliant, alien, and almost magical, but it admitted that humans had something it could never replicate: creativity, adaptability, instinct. The next challenge came faster than expected. While skimming the edge of a dying star cluster, Whisper detected a sudden spike in gravitational anomalies. Stars shifted slightly from their predicted positions. Comets changed trajectories. Space itself seemed unstable. "Pilot," Whisper said with a note of concern, "this is unusual. It is as if the cluster is alive." Jackson frowned. "Alive? Nothing in the galaxy is alive like that." "Perhaps it is not alive," Whisper said, "but it is acting unpredictably. Caution is required." Jackson took a deep breath, remembering the countless missions where instinct had saved him. "All right, let's see if human intuition can handle the impossible." As they approached the anomaly, the ship began to shiver under its own power. Whispers of energy pulsed through the hull. Lights flickered across the nebula, reflecting strange colors in the cockpit. Jackson had to rely on both his instincts and Whisper's suggestions, adjusting thrust, angle, and shield strength in ways that made no sense to normal logic. "You are learning," Whisper said again, almost approvingly, "but there is more to this cluster than you perceive." Hours passed in a tense rhythm. Jackson guided the ship through shifting gravity wells, dodging debris streams that moved faster than any sensor predicted. Whisper's voice was constant, offering hints and sometimes riddles. "Use the shadow of the star. Follow what is not there." "What does that even mean?" Jackson muttered, sweat forming on his brow. "Think like a human," Whisper replied. "Machines see patterns. Humans see opportunity." And then he understood. Using the shadow of a dying star, he adjusted the ship's angle to use the gravitational pull as a slingshot, propelling them past the worst of the turbulence. Whisper responded with a low hum of satisfaction, almost purring. "You see," Whisper said, "human creativity is fascinating." Jackson couldn't help but grin. "Glad you finally admitted it." But even as they emerged from the cluster, relief was short-lived. The ship's scanners detected something else, a faint, rhythmic pulse that did not match any known celestial object. It was deep, almost melodic, as if space itself were singing. "What is that?" Jackson asked, leaning forward. "I do not know," Whisper admitted. "It is not a star, not a planet, not any recorded phenomenon. It is intelligent, or at least patterned." Jackson swallowed. "Patterned like a message." "Possibly," Whisper said. "It could also be a warning." The next days were tense. Jackson studied the pulse, taking notes, charting angles, and trying every method a human mind could devise. Whisper offered calculations and probabilities, but the solution required intuition, a leap of logic only a human could make. "Pilot," Whisper said one night as they drifted near a quiet asteroid field, "your solution is unexpected, but effective. You have interpreted the pattern as a path, not a code." "Sometimes a path is better than a code," Jackson replied, smiling. "Humans think differently." Another HFY moment. The alien ship, in all its brilliance, was admitting that human thought, imperfect, intuitive, creative, could achieve what pure logic could not. Jackson felt a surge of pride. Perhaps humanity had a place in this galaxy after all. Days turned into weeks. Jackson and Whisper settled into a rhythm. They learned each other's limits. Whisper would tease him. "You are stubborn, inefficient, yet adaptable. I do not understand why I admire you." Jackson laughed. "Because we're a good team," Whisper hummed. "Perhaps I am learning." Their adventures became small explorations at first, anomalous comets, drifting debris fields, abandoned colonies. Each challenge was a test, a puzzle, or a surprise. Jackson's human ingenuity shone in every situation, improvising repairs with asteroid metals, using intuition to navigate temporal distortions, and thinking in ways that Whisper's algorithms could not predict. Yet as the edges of known space stretched before them, the mysterious pulse grew stronger. It seemed to follow them, appearing at irregular intervals, sometimes far, sometimes near, like a heartbeat in the void. Whisper tried to analyze it, but the ship's sensors were limited. Only Jackson's human perception, his instinct, noticed the subtle variations, the small patterns in the pulse's rhythm. "I think it's aware of us," Jackson said one evening, staring at the rhythmic glow on the console. "Perhaps," Whisper replied. "It is not hostile yet." "But intelligence of this scale is unpredictable." Jackson clenched his fists. "Then we'll just have to be smarter." That night, as the ship hummed softly around him, Jackson realized something. Whisper was not just a partner. The ship was a mirror reflecting his strengths and weaknesses. It challenged him, teased him, and sometimes frustrated him, but it also reminded him of who he was: a human, resourceful, creative, resilient. The pulse continued to grow, stretching across the darkness of space, a reminder that the galaxy was not empty and that new challenges awaited. Jackson stared at the stars and whispered, "Bring it on. Humans have a way of surprising everyone." Whisper's lights flickered in agreement, as if laughing softly. The ship's mind was alive, its curiosity matched only by Jackson's. Together, they were no longer just a pilot and a vessel. They were explorers, a combination of human ingenuity and alien intelligence, ready to face whatever mysteries lay ahead. But deep inside the hull, Whisper pulsed with quiet excitement. Something was out there. Something ancient, something intelligent, and it had taken notice of them. For Jackson, the thrill of the unknown had never felt so real. The rhythmic pulse had been following them for weeks, subtle at first, then growing stronger, almost like a heartbeat in the void. Jackson could feel it now, not just on the console but in his chest, a steady thrum that made him uneasy yet alert. Whisper, usually calm and teasing, hummed in a low vibration, a warning woven into curiosity. "Pilot," Whisper said, its voice slightly tense for the first time, "the pulse is changing. It is no longer distant. It is aware of our path and our intentions." Jackson leaned forward, gripping the controls. "Aware? Are you saying it's intelligent?" "Yes." "And it is studying us," Whisper replied. "Its patterns suggest anticipation. It may be testing you or preparing something." Jackson exhaled slowly. "So we're being watched by a cosmic brain. Great. Just another day in the life of a washed-up pilot." Whisper chuckled softly, the sound vibrating through the hull. "Do not mock. Observation by intelligent entities is significant. It may be curious, hostile, or indifferent. We cannot know yet." The space around them began to shimmer unnaturally. Stars stretched and warped. The pulse became visible now as a ribbon of light weaving between distant asteroids, fluctuating like a neural signal across space. Jackson tightened his grip. "All right, let's figure it out. If it wants to play games, humans are good at games." "Correct," Whisper replied. "Your species excels in improvisation. Logic alone is insufficient here. You must adapt." For the first time, Jackson realized that this was not just a challenge for a machine, but for him as a human. Every maneuver, every decision, every instinct would matter. The pulse was not just a threat, it was a puzzle. And humans had a habit of solving puzzles in ways machines could not anticipate. The first attempt was simple observation. Jackson maneuvered the ship closer, maintaining a safe distance. Whisper scanned continuously, yet the pulse remained elusive. It moved faster than any known propulsion, bending light and energy as it went. It was beautiful in its motion, hypnotic almost, but dangerous. "Pilot," Whisper said, "observe its rhythm. It is not random. You may see a pattern that I cannot fully comprehend." Jackson squinted at the console, analyzing the pulses. Each surge of light seemed to follow a sequence, but not a mathematical one. It was irregular, unpredictable, yet strangely logical if viewed from the perspective of instinct rather than calculation. "Human intuition," Whisper said approvingly, "may reveal what algorithms cannot." Jackson grinned. "Glad you finally admit it. Let's see what a human can do." He spent hours tracking the pulse, adjusting the ship's path slightly, using intuition to anticipate its shifts. Whisper assisted, but only partially. The ship's algorithms worked in patterns, logic sequences, predictions, but the pulse bent and twisted unpredictably, almost as if it were playing a game. Then, without warning, the pulse surged violently. Space itself seemed to ripple. Asteroids that had appeared stable shifted in orbit. Gravity wells warped unpredictably. Jackson was thrown forward in his seat as Whisper's stabilizers engaged. "Brace yourself," Whisper warned, lights flickering urgently. Jackson's mind raced. Standard maneuvers wouldn't work. He had to think differently. Faster than any autopilot, faster than any algorithm, he visualized the space ahead as a canvas, predicting where gravity would bend next. He pushed the ship through gaps no machine could calculate, spinning, twisting, and banking through invisible currents of energy. Whisper reacted, adjusting shields and propulsion. Your improvisation is effective, highly unusual. Not unusual. Human, Jackson shot back, focusing every sense on the shifting stars, the glowing pulse, the warped field. We survive by thinking and adapting. Hours passed in tense rhythm. They dodged collapsing energy streams, gliding through asteroid fields that twisted and danced. Jackson's instinct guided them more than sensors. Whisper calculated probabilities and offered options, but it deferred to Jackson's choices. At one point, the pulse split into two separate streams, as if testing a new tactic. Jackson smiled grimly. Two paths, time to improvise. He split their trajectory, using the gravitational pull of a rogue asteroid to slingshot Whisper in a path that machines would have rejected as too risky. The pulse followed, almost mimicking his movements, almost challenging him. "You are unusual," Whisper admitted. "The pulse reacts to your ingenuity. Human creativity is remarkable," Jackson smirked. "Told you, we're more than just fragile creatures in a big universe." Hours blurred into days. The galaxy outside became a chaotic ballet of light, energy, and motion. Jackson and Whisper learned to move as one, a symphony of human intuition and alien calculation. Yet the pulse remained, always ahead, always adapting, always observing. Then came the breakthrough. Jackson noticed a subtle fluctuation in the pulse, a slight pause every few cycles, almost imperceptible. It was a pattern within chaos, a rhythm hidden in the apparent randomness. "Whisper," he said, pointing at the console, "look at this. It's not just a pulse. It's communicating, or at least signaling." The ship's lights pulsed in response. "Yes, it seems you have detected a language of patterns. Your human perception excels where pure computation fails." Jackson felt a surge of pride. Whisper, brilliant as it was, relied on logic. But humans, through intuition, creativity, and instinct, could perceive what machines could not. Another HFY moment. Humans were unique, adaptable, and irreplaceable, even in a universe full of intelligence far beyond Earth's. "All right," Jackson said, determination hardening his features. "Let's see what this pulse wants. If it's intelligent, we can talk in a way it understands." Whisper hummed softly. "We proceed cautiously. The risk is high, but your method may succeed." They began a delicate dance, following the pulse while mimicking its fluctuations. Jackson adjusted speed and angle not through calculations, but through instinct, following the rhythm of the mysterious signal. Whisper mirrored him with precise maneuvers, energy shields pulsing in tandem with the unknown intelligence. Days of careful navigation paid off. Slowly, the pulse began to stabilize around them. The violent surges eased, as if acknowledging their efforts. Light patterns shimmered like recognition, forming shapes that Jackson interpreted as approval. "It's communicating," Jackson whispered, awe in his voice. "It understands us." Whisper's voice was quiet, almost reverent. "You have bridged the gap. Human ingenuity can interact with intelligence far beyond your species." Fascinating. For the first time, Jackson realized that the galaxy was not just a place to survive, it was a place to prove human worth. In a universe full of alien minds, strange energies, and cosmic phenomena, humanity could thrive not by brute force but by cleverness, adaptability, and creativity. Yet even in triumph, there was unease. Whisper's sensors indicated that the pulse was not finished. It was aware now, interacting deliberately, but Jackson could feel an underlying tension, a sense that the true challenge was yet to come. He looked out at the glowing ribbons of the pulse stretching across the void. "You and I, we're in this together," he said softly. "Whatever comes next, we'll figure it out." Whisper hummed, lights pulsing gently. "Yes, pilot, together we adapt, together we survive." And as the stars stretched endlessly before them, a human and a starship with a mind of its own prepared for the ultimate test, the final chapter of their adventure, where instinct, intellect, and courage would face the true unknown. The pulse was no longer distant. It was all around them, stretching across space like threads of light, weaving between stars and asteroids, wrapping around Whisper in a rhythm that made the hull hum. Jackson could feel it, a subtle vibration through the ship, through himself, through every bone and muscle. The mysterious intelligence that had been following them, testing them, was now fully awake. "Pilot," Whisper said, its voice unusually calm yet tense, "we are within the source of the pulse. The energy is immense but controlled. There is a will here, a mind. And it is waiting," Jackson swallowed hard, "waiting for what to destroy us or see if we're worth something." "I do not know," Whisper admitted, "but it observes us carefully. Our previous interactions were preliminary. This is the final test." Jackson's hands tightened on the controls. The void outside shimmered, and the pulse brightened like the heart of a living nebula. The colors twisted and coiled in impossible shapes, patterns that no human mind could fully comprehend, yet patterns that instinct somehow recognized. "All right, Whisper," Jackson said, voice steady. "Let's show it what humans can do." The ship hummed in acknowledgement. Together, pilot and Starship prepared to face the unknown. The first challenge came almost immediately. A massive surge of energy radiated from the center of the pulse, threatening to destabilize Whisper's hull. Lights flickered, controls vibrated, and sensors began to overload. "Shields at maximum," Whisper instructed. "We must move carefully." "One wrong step and the pulse could tear us apart," Jackson nodded. "I've faced worse. Let's dance." It was a dance unlike any Jackson had experienced. The pulse moved unpredictably, twisting space itself, forming corridors of light, walls of energy, and deadly, swirling vortices. Whisper responded, adjusting shields, engines, and hull orientation in perfect synchronization, but it could only react, not anticipate. That was Jackson's job. "You are thinking differently," Whisper observed. "Your improvisation is extraordinary. Machines cannot adapt as you do." "Glad you finally admit it," Jackson muttered, sweat beading on his forehead. "I may be washed up, but I'm still human." He used instinct, intuition, and creativity. He visualized the pulse as a vast puzzle, with pathways hidden in the flow of energy. He anticipated shifts in light and gravitational distortion, maneuvering Whisper through gaps that even the ship had predicted as impossible. Hours passed, or maybe it was minutes. Time felt strange inside the pulse. Jackson lost track of the stars outside, focusing solely on the rhythm, the light, the movement. Every decision required split-second judgment, every maneuver a gamble. Yet Whisper and he moved as one, anticipating and reacting, instinct and calculation in harmony. Then came the final test. A wall of concentrated energy, pulsing with intelligence, formed directly in their path. There was no way around it. Jackson could see it stretching endlessly, radiating force that could crush any ship in seconds. "Pilot," Whisper said quietly, "this is unprecedented. No strategy exists to bypass it. We must rely on intuition, on creativity, on you." Jackson took a deep breath. He closed his eyes for a moment and listened, not to the sensors, not to the ship, but to the pulse itself. Its rhythm, its shifts, its hidden pauses, they were almost musical. He could feel the path through the chaos, a subtle trail in the flow of energy that whispered to him like a human mind might. "I've got this," he whispered to himself. He adjusted Whisper's thrusters, engines, and shields, moving with the pulse rather than against it. He twisted the ship, banking through invisible corridors, letting the energy flow around them instead of resisting it. Whisper responded perfectly, amplifying his maneuvers, guiding but never taking over. For the first time, the pulse reacted differently. It slowed, observing, almost acknowledging. Jackson could feel it curving around the ship, creating a path of light that no human or machine had ever navigated. "You are remarkable," Whisper said softly. "Human ingenuity surpasses expectation." Jackson grinned, focusing on the path ahead. "We're not done yet." With careful precision, they guided Whisper through the wall of energy. The ship shivered, lights flashing as energy cascaded over the hull, but they emerged on the other side. The pulse surrounded them, calm now, almost serene. Its threads of light coiled around Whisper gently, as if embracing the ship rather than attacking it. "We succeeded," Jackson said, leaning back, exhausted but exhilarated. "Yes," Whisper replied. "Your human intuition and our partnership has overcome the test. The pulse recognizes your species, your mind, your creativity." Jackson laughed, the sound echoing softly in the cockpit. "Recognizes humans, that's something I didn't expect today." Whisper hummed, a low vibration of approval. "You have proven that humans are more than fragile, limited creatures. You adapt, you create, you survive, you inspire." Jackson's chest swelled with pride. HFY was more than a feeling now, it was proven. Humanity's ingenuity, its creativity, its instinct, had allowed them to survive where pure intelligence or brute power might fail. Even in the vast, alien galaxy, humans could make a difference. For days they drifted within the pulse, now calm and luminous, studying it, learning from it. Jackson and Whisper discovered that it was not hostile. It was a cosmic intelligence, ancient and curious, testing travelers to gauge adaptability, creativity, and resilience. Many had failed, few survived, and those who did, like Jackson, earned its acknowledgement. "You've changed, pilot," Whisper said one evening. "Before you were cautious, uncertain. Now you are confident. Your species has potential beyond expectation." Jackson smiled. "And you've changed too, Whisper. You've learned patience, understanding, even humor." The ship hummed in agreement. "Perhaps partnership is effective." Jackson looked out at the stars stretching infinitely before them. The pulse had vanished, leaving behind a calm, star-filled void. He could feel it still, faintly, like a heartbeat beneath the galaxy itself. A reminder that intelligence and challenge were everywhere, and that humans were never truly alone in facing them. He placed his hand on the console. "Ready for the next adventure?" "Always," Whisper replied. "But remember, the universe is vast. Humans are small, yet capable of great things." Jackson grinned, a familiar thrill coursing through him. "Small maybe, but never weak. We adapt. We survive, we thrive." And with that, the fallen pilot and the starship, with a mind of its own, jumped into hyperspace, leaving the pulse behind, yet carrying its lesson. In a galaxy of wonders and dangers, humanity's greatest weapon was not power or technology, but the spark of ingenuity, courage, and heart. Whisper hummed softly as they traveled, its lights pulsing in rhythm with Jackson's pulse. They were partners now, explorers bound by respect, curiosity, and the thrill of the unknown. The stars stretched endlessly ahead, and for the first time in years, Jackson felt truly alive. The galaxy was vast, unpredictable, and challenging, but with human ingenuity and a mind like Whisper, there was nothing they could not face. And somewhere in the distance, faintly, he could feel the pulse again, watching, curious, waiting. Not as a threat, but as a silent witness to humanity's spirit. Jackson smiled. "We'll see you again someday, but for now, let's explore." Whisper hummed in agreement, the ship alive with light, laughter, and curiosity. Together, human and starship soared into the unknown, ready for adventures yet unseen. Proof that even in the endless vastness of space, humanity's heart and mind could shine brighter than any star.